You're not depressed, you just live in the US. I moved from the US to Europe and I plan on never going back. Living here has been so affordable and stress-free. I even had my baby here.
I don't know, this is... What the fuck is happening in the US, man?
They just think they're the best. They're like, oh my god, we have freedom, but most other countries have freedom.
I don't like the culture, whether it's tipping, guns, the thoughts on abortion.
Americans are waking up confused. Europeans don't want to move here anymore. The country that used to be everyone's dream destination is now getting rejected by the people who supposedly had it worse. What happened? Welcome back. Let's get into it. You know?
Baby. 3 reasons you don't want to go to the US.
McDonald's. No.
Finally, someone with actual sense bringing up Switzerland in the gun conversation. This dude gets it. Switzerland has similar gun ownership rates, but none of the mass violence. Why? Because it's not about the guns. It's about the people. We've built a society where young men are completely isolated, purposeless, mentally destroyed, no community, no meaning, no future they believe in. Then we act shocked when some of them snap, fix the broken culture, rebuild actual communities, give people purpose and connection, address the mental health crisis that's destroying a generation. But nah, that's too hard. So let's just blame the inanimate object and call it a day. Switzerland proves the gun isn't the variable, the society is.
Okay, first, because a lot of people has pew pew. Second, because I would be so far from my family and friends, of course. And third one, I heard that at USA you can't find the real tomato. So I like tomato and veggies, so this. No co?
Has any European who's gone to the US and then come back to their home country had a reverse culture shock in which you actually missed an aspect of being in the US? I promise I'm not just trying to inflate the American ego, I do have a point. I was recently talking with a Spanish friend of mine yesterday and listened to what he said about his last trip to LA.
Right, so Americans are very crazy. At the supermarket, they start to talk to you. Now that's very weird because like in Spain, no one talks to anyone on the supermarket. For me, it's hard to be here. I don't know.
And as you can clearly tell from this video, we were just goofing off. Like I literally just put the camera in front of his face.
She's hitting on something real about that fake versus genuine debate. Europeans think American friendliness is performative, and sure, sometimes it is. But at least we're attempting human connection instead of treating strangers like they're invisible. You know what's also fake? Living next to someone for 5 years and pretending they don't exist, because we don't do that here. Both sides have blind spots. One's overly polite to the point of meaningless. The other's so terrified of seeming insincere, they've criminalized basic warmth. Maybe the answer is somewhere in the middle instead of acting like either extreme is superior.
And said, say something, record. But the point he brought up actually made me think. Because anyone I've ever talked to about their experience of going to and coming back from the US has always said the same thing. They thought the social encounters between them and Americans were super fake. And now this guy is saying that he's actually going to miss part of the social encounters of being in the US because he prefers it to being in Spain. In LA nonetheless. But this does leave me with the overarching question of, do you as Spanish people or you as Europeans, whoever's watching this, you actually experience reverse culture shocks of things that you miss about the US upon coming back home? Or is there really nothing you would take from our society?
Would you ever move to America?
No, never. No.
No interest in moving there. It's a complete hole.
No, because I am transgender.
You'd step over there and you already lose like 10 of the rights that you have here.
It's a disgusting place. They've got no NHS whatsoever. It's an absolute dump.
They just think they're the best. They're like, oh my god, we have freedom, but most other countries have freedom.
I don't like the culture, whether it's tipping, guns, the thoughts on abortion.
If you're dying or having a baby, why you got to pay for it?
There's nothing about America that I think I would prefer over here.
You don't have like free speech at all there.
I wouldn't last a minute over there, I don't think. It's definitely stricter over there than it is over here. 1000%. If I was to go anywhere in America, it'd be like maybe like Canada.
Would you ever consider living in America based on the safety level?
Definitely not now, especially because we're like white and stuff. I think it's not as severe, like we're not the ones facing the danger.
I prefer staying in the UK.
I'd consider living in America for sure.
I would love to live in America. When I went there, I said I'd love to live there.
The fact that like every week there's a new shooting, not even school shootings, like there's the mall shooting. I would like to move there, but it definitely like pushes me away from it.
I think it would have to be very specific, sort of like dream job, maybe not for a long time. On the whole, definitely I'd say leaning towards no, especially because places like London are much better in my opinion.
Now I'm sort of cooling off wanting to live there, but if I did move to America, it would be somewhere more like New York where, you know, there's not like open carry and stuff like that. I would never really consider moving to any of these really pro-gun states.
California or New York or none of the like conservative southern states.
So, I don't know about you guys, but me, as a European, I'm pretty scared of traveling to the US. I was thinking about going to the World Cup, but that's not an option. Like, chances are pretty high that I'm gonna die. Killed by ICE. Like, what we are seeing currently in the US, the last 2 weeks, what happened in Minnesota, this literally feels like Nazi Germany. If they kill US citizens, then what are they gonna do to foreigners?
Listen to how they're talking about America like it's a failed state, no NHS, no rights, absolute dump, disgusted place. I'm not going to sit here and pretend we're perfect, but this level of catastrophizing is wild. They're acting like crossing the border means instant death. Meanwhile, they're ignoring knife crime in London, immigration chaos across Europe, economic stagnation that's been going on for decades. Every country's got problems, but somehow America's the only one that gets painted as completely irredeemable. That's not analysis, that's propaganda.
Especially so freaking many that are planning on going to see the World Cup games. Yeah, I don't know. This is... What the fuck is happening in the US, man?
One of the most dystopian things I have experienced on this app is I will be complaining about something that is unique to the United States, and someone from Europe will be like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry that you live in the United States. That must be so awful. Like, I'm so glad I don't live in the United States." And I'm like, that is crazy to me, because as a kid, we were all told that, like, the United States was like the best country in the world, that we were better than all the other countries, that like our healthcare was better, our government was better, everything was better. And then growing up and realizing that it's not has been so dystopian for me. Like, a lot of my content is centered around my chronic illnesses, and I will be talking about like not having access to free healthcare, and someone from either Europe or Canada is like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry that you have to deal with that. I could never." That's crazy to me. Or worse, when I'm complaining about something and someone will be like, "Well, I don't have that problem," and they have a Canadian flag in their bio. It's like, yeah, of course, you live in fucking Canada.
Most Europeans love to criticize the U.S. and Americans. They love to talk smack about the U.S. And I think that's the result of many years of propaganda that's been taking place in Europe. For a long time, Europeans have been told that America is evil because it's the country of capitalism, individualism, inequality. People are fake. But that's not, after hearing that over and over, it just sticks, right? It shapes how you see things. They go after guns, but that's not the real issue. Is not the guns, it's the people, it's society that's messed up. That's why you see all these mass shootings happening in schools and all these public places. But you look at Switzerland. In Switzerland, people own guns, just like in the U.S. But you don't see the same kind of mass shootings happening. They say the U.S. is not safe, but honestly, most major European cities are just as dangerous, if not worse. Craziest part, most of them have never even been to the U.S. And that's the result of a long and well-structured propaganda or consistent messaging, or call it what you want. But the thing is, it shapes how you view things.
I think the reason to come to France is because you're going to have a much better life here, a much higher quality of life for half the cost of living in the United States. And especially for retirees, they can really make their Social Security and their retirement budget spread a lot further. But they can have a life that they can't really have in the U.S. France has the #1 health care system in the world for the least amount of cost, which is amazing. If you're in the center of Europe, which we are, you have access to all of Europe and beyond by being here, which you can't do from the U.S.
It's very well connected.
There's a long list of reasons to be here.
You're not depressed, you just live in the U.S. I moved from the U.S. to Europe, and I plan on never going back. Living here has been so affordable and stress-free. I even had my baby here. It cost me about $1,300 to give birth here, and I got paid $400 by the state to have a baby here. It's just such a different culture here. Like, people aren't only centered by their work and their job. You get to actually enjoy life and do things on your own time. And I feel like right now is probably the best time to leave the US. And yes, that's everywhere in the world, but it's just so different when you live in a country other than the US. I moved to a tiny country in Europe for the past year, and I am 6 hours ahead of the US. So that means 3 p.m. here is 9 a.m. there. So I have until 3 p.m. every single day to do whatever I want to do. It's been incredible. So if you can, move out of the US and live in another country, because life is just so much simpler elsewhere. The food is better, the air is cleaner, the education.
Hold up. She's painting Europe like it's some perfect paradise where everything's magically free. Nothing is free. You're paying 30 to 40% in taxes before you even see your paycheck. Healthcare is free until you're on a 6-month wait list for a procedure you could get next week. In America, education's free, but the quality gap between top American universities and most European schools is massive. The air is cleaner. Sure, I'll give her that one. But stop pretending there's no trade-offs. Every system has costs. Europe just hides them in your tax rate instead of making them obvious.
Education is free, the healthcare is free, and you'll have a lot higher quality of life elsewhere other than the US.
I'm from the United States, but I've been living in Spain for the past 5 years, and I've come to the conclusion that I will most likely never move back to the United States for many reasons. So let's talk about, for me, what is the most important reason, and it has to be the Spanish lifestyle. It's incredible. I truly feel like the people here enjoy living their lives to the maximum. Even on a Monday, you'll see people out having drinks with friends, on a terrace, sitting in the sun. Life doesn't just stop for them during the week. They don't wait for the weekend to enjoy life. And
He's comparing London to Italy and going with Italy for quality of life. I respect it. The whole everything is organic by default thing is real. They're not eating chemical cocktails disguised as food. But here's what bugs me about these comparisons. They always pit the best of Europe against average America. Yeah, if you're comparing rural Italy's food culture to a Detroit McDonald's, Italy wins. But compare rural Montana to industrial Manchester, and suddenly the script flips. These conversations would be way more honest if people admitted they're comparing their idealized version of one place against the worst version of another.
see people having lunch with their families for 5, 6, 7 hours on the weekend, just spending that special time together. Whereas in the US, everything is so rushed. If I go have lunch with my aunt, for example, she's eating the food so fast and just dying to go back home. And here you actually don't feel rushed. Like, you have time to just sit there, talk, and enjoy being with other people. I mean, obviously the food and wine is incredible, don't get me wrong, but it's not about who has the biggest house, who has the nicest car. It's just about making money to live and take a nice vacation, spend time with your loved ones. And people don't really care about your work as much, which I think is so important. We put way too much emphasis on, oh, but what do you do? Oh, you don't work at a Big Four? Okay, you're irrelevant to me. And here, there's none of that, well, from what I've noticed. And I think, honestly, maybe that's why Spain has...
She's describing the Spanish lifestyle, and honestly, some of this sounds genuinely better. The focus on relationships over resumes, spending actual time with people instead of speed eating and running back to the grind. Americans have lost something real here. We've made work our entire identity. You meet someone new, and the first question is always, what do you do? Like your job defines your worth as a human. Spain's got it right on this one. Life's about the people you love and the experiences you share, not the size of your LinkedIn network. We could learn from this instead of dismissing it. Slowing down isn't weakness, it's actually living instead of just existing between work shifts.
One of the longest life expectancies as well. People are just overall healthier here. So thank you, Spain, for showing me what really matters in life, and honestly, for showing me the best possible way to do life and to live.
Despite all of the problems that Europe is facing, almost every single country in Europe is actually more free than the United States when you actually run the data. You've seen countries, including countries that were communist and socialist in your lifetime, surpassing the United States in economic freedom. But when it comes to personal freedom, actual studies show that pretty much every country in Western Europe has more freedom. So you have all of Scandinavia, you have the UK, Ireland, Spain, France, everything all the way over to Germany. Which countries in Europe have less personal freedom than the United States? Poland, Hungary, Belarus, Ukraine, and a handful of others in the Balkans, Turkey, for example. I actually happen to think that in countries like the Balkans and in Turkey, things are much more casual, which might help some people. But if you just look at everyday life, where are you going to be more free? You are less free in the United States than in almost every other Western country. You can move to Europe. You can actually dramatically reduce your taxes. If you're coming from the United States, in many Western European countries, they have special deals, and you will be more free.
So you lived in London, the U.S., and Italy. Which country had the better way of life between the three, though?
I would say definitely Italy. They really prioritize mental health. They're not going to rush themselves to work. They're not going to rush themselves to eat. They're not going to rush themselves to sleep. They don't have a concept of organic because everything is organic. And so it's just like the quality of life is like they don't have to make so much effort to improve it because they're just taking care of themselves.
Quality of life in America versus Europe. Of the three main categories, culture and community, career and cost of living, and convenience and comfort, the one that is the hardest to call, that is the closest between the US and Europe, is career and cost of living. Because previously, America was the land of opportunity, right? Working class and middle class people would come here because of the career opportunities and the high salaries. Even though cost of living has always been high in the big cities and has been getting higher, the career opportunities and the salaries reflected that. And it was enough to bring people because if you were willing to put in the work, then you would have success. The problem is that has been changing over the past at least 10, if not 20 years in America, where it used to be, back in the post-war period that you could have a factory job or work in a supermarket and buy a house and raise a family on that. And those days have been gone for a long time, right? I'm a millennial and I never knew those days. But then it was the fact that as long as you had a college education and you could have a white collar job, then you could stay ahead and you could do those things. But that's not the case anymore. Even before AI, even before the last few years that we are feeling these layoffs and the effect of AI taking over jobs, even before that, people could hire overseas for more and more of these remote jobs as educated.
What she's describing here is actually terrifying. If you're paying attention, the American middle class dream is dying, not because of some natural evolution, but because of deliberate policy choices. You used to be able to work a factory job and buy a house. Then it was get a degree and you'll be fine. Now, even that's not enough. White collar jobs are getting outsourced. AI is eating entire career paths. Wages are stagnating while costs explode. And instead of addressing the structural problems, we're all just fighting each other over culture war nonsense. This is the real crisis. The economic foundation that made America work is crumbling, and nobody with power seems interested in fixing it. Europe's got problems too, but at least they have social safety nets. We're about to have neither opportunity nor security. That's the nightmare scenario.
Professionals overseas started to compete for a lot of these white-collar jobs. So I would say that career-wise, the U.S. does still beat Italy, but only by a little bit, where it used to be that the U.S. beat Italy by a mile in the career and salaries category, right? Nowadays, like in Italy, trying to have a professional career, like a white-collar office job, is very difficult. Salaries are low, promotions and raises are like non-existent. But I'm seeing the same thing start to happen in the US, right? I'm seeing a lot of like marketing and tech and office jobs stagnate, and those wages even go down. And when you compare it with the cost of living that continues to go up in America, it's becoming a really bad situation. So in America, cost of living is very high, and the cost especially of necessities like housing and food and childcare continues to rise, right? And there's necessities like childcare and healthcare that we need to pay for and we don't have access to. And yes, taxes are higher in Italy, but not that much higher to make up for what you're paying in healthcare and childcare. In Italy and in much of Europe, the cost of like housing and food and that kind of thing, the problem of cost of living is a little bit more localized to like major tourist hotspots where the international demand kind of drives the prices to not reflect the local salaries. But outside of those hotspots, it's still very livable. So again, it really depends on your specific situation, what kind of job you are trying to have, what kind of connections you have in each country. This is very dependent on that. The problem is in America, the cost of our basic necessities like housing and food has been rising really, really fast, while at the same time, our career opportunities, our wages have been stagnating and going away. So for me personally, while it was a close call, I am going to give career and cost of living to Italy over America, which I never thought I would say.
He's going dark with the "your children are being sacrificed" line, bit dramatic, but I get the frustration. American workers are getting squeezed from every angle. Healthcare costs, education costs, housing costs, childcare costs, all while wages stay flat and job security evaporates. It does feel like regular people are just fuel for a machine that doesn't care if they live or die. But the answer isn't to run away. It's to fight for systemic change, demand better from the people.
Best place to build a company. A company is simply a group of individuals that are working towards a common goal. In the US, it is impossible to acquire people, to get them to join your company. They are incredibly expensive once you have them to pay them. You're competing against the biggest companies in the world who have massive budgets. And then the average tenure is about 13 months in Silicon Valley. In Europe, it's much easier to acquire them, they're much cheaper to pay, and then the average tenure is 33 months. They last 3 times longer. It is unequivocally a better place to build a business in the UK and Europe than it is in Silicon Valley right now.
I am a foreigner from the Netherlands in US, and as much as I love your country and how big you guys think, there is a couple of things that have room for improvement. Number one, the roads. I've driven a lot throughout the US, and the roads are just fucking horrible considering you have hundreds of millions of cars and your country is designed for cars. It sucks. There's potholes everywhere. Quality sucks. There's cracks all in the road. Compared to roads in the Netherlands or somewhere in Europe, your roads are super shitty and it's super annoying to drive because every intersection I hit a bump somewhere and it's fucking annoying. The next one is tipping culture. I don't understand it. You're expected to pay 30% on top of your bill, which is expensive for what you're getting. Paying another 30% on top of an already pretty expensive bill is kind of outrageous. Just pay your work as well. Stock costs maybe somewhere else. I don't understand it. Another scam in this country is that there's no tax included on price tags in the stores. I mean, if you go grocery shopping, if you go shopping for anything, you know, it says $10 on the price tag. When you check out at the cashier, it'll pay you a whole lot more just because they don't show you the tax on the price tag. That's crazy, right? If I just do my groceries in Spain or in Netherlands, it just tells me the price, what I have to pay, and there's no hidden fees nowhere. Next one is I find pretty ridiculous, which is credit cards. I do understand credit cards, but why not just use a debit card? I'd much rather be able to only spend the money that I actually have as opposed to spending money that I do not have and then paying a crazy amount of interest on it. I've seen things go as high as 30% interest, which is, I think, ridiculous. Most of Europe does not use a credit card. I think they only use debit for the most part. And if they use credit cards, probably because they're going to somewhere international, somewhere in the US, or credit cards are generally not used in Europe as far as I know. On to the final one, which is food ingredients. I mean, there's 100 ingredients in a single apple, while it should just be the apple. I don't understand it. I don't understand it. If you look at a little piece of beef, it should just say 100% beef on the back, right? But it'll tell you gasoline, sand, shampoo, all.
She's ranting about American food regulations and tipping culture. And honestly, these are valid complaints. Our food's pumped full of chemicals banned everywhere else. That's not opinion, that's documented fact. The tipping system is absolutely broken. Employers refuse to pay living wages and guilt trip customers into subsidizing their staff. Tax not included in prices is deliberately deceptive. Credit card interest rates hit 30%, which is predatory. These aren't minor inconveniences. These are symptoms of a system designed to extract maximum money from regular people. Corporations wrote the rules to benefit themselves, and we all just accept it as normal. She's right to call it out. These things are ridiculous, and we've just been gaslit into thinking they're fine.
All of this stuff that is unnecessary. But then what is better is the gas prices, though. I just filled up a 120-liter tank for $50, which is 45 euros something, which was a pretty good deal. I think that was about it. Thank you for watching my rant, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.
Would you holiday in the US given all the trouble that's going on there right now?
Definitely not. It just doesn't seem safe. I like Ireland, it's safe enough.
Probably not, no. I don't know, just better places to go.
No.
I wouldn't. I think I'd be too scared to.
No, I wouldn't, because Donald Trump is a disgusting human being and I would never want to enter into that territory, and I think it's on the verge of a civil war, so...
No, it's too political and I don't want to die in the war.
Probably not. Pretty dicey over there right now, so the fella who's running the country, just don't agree with anything that he's doing, and he's just a terrible person.
Absolutely not. Well, we've been many times, but I'm just put off with what's going on in America with the ICE particularly.
Certain parts of it, yeah, I'd be open to. I've been there in the last few years and politics have come up, it does get a bit awkward, but I'm not there yet where I wouldn't not go.
So we just heard Europeans explain why they're not interested in moving to America anymore. Some points were fair, some were exaggerated. All worth considering. Neither America nor Europe is perfect. Both have real advantages and serious problems. What matters is being honest about trade-offs instead of pretending your side has it all figured out. Here's my question. What's one thing America does better than Europe, and one thing we should absolutely copy from them? Drop your answer below. If this made you think, share it, subscribe for more. See you next time.